So we're back for part 3 to finish this lesson on creating this Multnomah Falls painting that was taken from a photograph. The photograph was taken by my husband, David James, and he's given me permission ethically to create this painting from that photograph. So lessons parts 1 and 2, we created the back rock wall back here, and then we came forward and did the bridge and started to bring the green covered walls coming forward. And so now in this lesson we're going to finish up with creating all of this foliage coming down into the kind of granity rock walls in this area and getting our water in place. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to go ahead with my colors here. These are the colors we've been using. I've got some medium gray here. I've got some licorice, and I have some Prussian blue that I've used up. So I'm going to put out some more. There we go. And I'm going to need some brighter colors as we come forward on some of these rock walls to bring out some of the colors in the foliage and the leaves, etc. So I'm going to put out some daffodil yellow, some citrus green. Remember, we're using Plaid multi-surface FolkArt paint. It has a sealer in it that gives a lovely satin finish and allows you to not have to seal your paintings when you're done, which is a nice thing. All right, so I've got my brighter colors. I've got daffodil yellow and citrus green, and then I'm going to put out a darker green here as well. This is sap green. All right, and we're going to just put that right there. And I've got some floating medium left on my plate and some white. And I'm going to put out a little bit of fresh white so I know I have plenty to work with. Okay, so we're ready to start. And I'm going to now start from the back behind the water and bring in the water down here, because that's more in the background than these rock walls and the final waterfall here. Okay, so first let's get our color back here behind the rock wall. So I'm going to come with my mop brush again. All right, and I'm going to use the little 1/2-inch brush. Okay, and I'm going to put some floating medium in that brush. You could use blending gel as well. It's just that blending gel will lengthen the drying time of your paint, so be aware of that if that's your preferred medium. I'm going to put Prussian blue in here and some medium gray to get kind of a Payne's gray sort of tone here, and then just a touch of licorice. Okay, you see how strong that is? It just takes right over, so I don't want to obliterate my blues and shading values in there. Okay, so we're going to come right here behind the edge of the waterfall and come down, and I'm going to come in here. Now remember, this is kind of break apart area, so I'm going to put this dark in here so that when we pull the white over the top of it, it will show up through the water. Okay, so this is a little bit lighter. Get a little bit more. We're going to put some kind of sweeping down. Actually, let me get a little more medium here. Help that move. There we go. All right, so this will help the white show up against the darker background. Remember, you need dark to see light. So I'm going to come right up here at the top of my waterfall, and we're going to pull down, create that rounded top. You can come right over like this and then pull down from there and just streak it down. And I can still see my pattern lines through there, so that's important to me, so I know where I'm putting those misty water areas. A little more of that color blend, and Prussian and some medium gray. There we go, a little bit of medium. So just keep working with that blend. We're going to come right in here. Okay, a little more medium, and we'll come through here. Now it's perfectly fine to just feather that out. I actually prefer that than having a hard line right there. And then when we bring our green foliage over that, we can cover up any hard lines. There we go. More medium, and continue to streak this up and down. Right down to there is where it's dark. Okay. And then I'm just going to kind of clean out my brush with medium on it over the rest of these falls. Okay, so you need that background color so that when we put the white on there, just like we did up there, that it will show up. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and clean that brush. And set that aside. I'm sure I'm going to need it later, so I'm going to dry it out really well. Okay, so now down in here, I want to put my water in place. Okay, so I'm going to come to a 3/4 inch flat, and we're going to get Prussian blue, quite a bit of it, load the brush, and then I'm going to get a touch of licorice and work that in. This is a really dark area of water down here, okay? So see how you can, it's blue when you leave it light, but it's very dark because of that licorice when you have it strong. So we're going to come right up under here, follow that off. So there's not much movement in this water because really what you're seeing at the base of these falls is the spray out. So I'm not going to worry too much about creating any kind of waves or movement or anything like that. Okay. So we're just keeping it dark, going off the sides. Okay, see that's nice and dark. And just soften and smooth out your brush strokes so you're not seeing hard lines in the water, okay? Now, underneath the falls here, I'm just going to kind of sweep this up. Let me get a little bit of medium in my brush. Sweep it up this way. We're going to spray the water out as it hits the surface of the pool down here, but I don't want a hard line there either, okay? Okay. All right, so again, we're coming right up to the edge of the water here, and then I'm going to sweep it away and make sure I'm not leaving any hard brush strokes. Okay, and I'm just going to finish here at the bottom of my canvas. If you don't frame your canvases, it's important to finish the edges so that when you hang them, you don't have unpainted edges, okay? All right, so we're going to let that kind of set and dry, and then we'll be ready to do the spray of the water coming out when we're done doing, as we finish our waterfall, okay? All right, so in good shape there. Now, so I'm ready at this point to shade up against this rock wall a little darker now that we've got that underpainting in place. So what I'm going to do is take some floating medium and my 3/4 flat, and I'm going to come over here. All right, and I'm going to side stroke some of this black, this licorice. So I'm going to let it go about 1/3 of the way across my brush, and then I can work with that load as I progress. So up against the edge of the water on the flat of the brush, you're going to come right down and then reverse and come up and shade in this area. So it's still gray, but it's got a darker value to it. Okay, just kind of shading that so that you have a little bit of texture to it, right? So you can kind of leave some brush marks in there like that, and then do the other side. A little more medium. All right, so we're going to come right up here and next to the falls. I need a little bit stronger. On the flat of the brush, you have to be with pressure, not on the chisel edge, but flat to the canvas so that it blends that color in, okay? And then add some little choppy moves in there so that it looks a little more like rock. All right, so that's pretty good. I'm going to come and get some medium gray now on that same edge with my medium and the black that's already in my brush. So it's just darkening that gray slightly. And we're going to come right up here next to this edge of the falls. And I'm looking at a reference photo that I've shared with you before. And keep in mind, as I've said, it's always best to have that picture up on a high quality digital screen so that the colors are true and you can see your light and dark areas. Okay, so that's all the shading I want to do right now. And then we're going to put our foliage in. Okay, on the face of the wall. Now, before we do that though, I want to add, there's some raw rock down here on this lower third of the falls. So I'm going to grab my larger mop brush, this one right here, and I'm going to get medium gray. Now, no water, no medium, nothing. I'm just loading it with nice thick paint. All right, and I'm tapping it to load a lot of the medium gray, and then I'm going to get just a little bit of white on one corner. See that? And this is going to give me some texture as I push this, pounce this, I should say, on my canvas right in here. And the background of the white of the canvas is going to show, and that's good. You can use that. Come right down here at the water base, and you might tap into just a little bit of licorice too. There we go. All right, so you're just getting this texture in the rock, and we're going to get the edge here. And we're going to bring that over to right about there. Let me get just a little more white. Don't over pounce it though. You gotta be careful because you'll get a blend of all the colors into one. So you don't want that. Okay, a little bit more of the licorice down here. There we go. All right, and then over on the other side we have the same thing. So I'm going to come in with some more of the medium gray and white. And then I'm going to get some licorice, and right down here at the edge I'm going to kind of tap that in. And if you over run the water here, if it's dry, you should be able to take that right off with a damp brush. Okay. A little more of the medium gray. We're going to come right up to where that edge is that wraps around on this, and we're going to tap into it slightly, right in there. And then come over here and get this edge. So it's a very firm but gentle tapping. I'm going to put just a little bit of white in there. Okay, and then just because there are a few spots where there's some gray peeking through the green foliage up here, I'm just going to tap a little bit of that in there. Right there, there's a little bit. Let me get a little more of the gray because that's a little dark. Okay, so this kind of comes right over here to this rock edge, and then there's a little bit in here. A little bit of white. It's looking all one color. Okay, just kind of tapping that in with some dark on the back corner of my brush. Kind of bring that together. That's looking kind of cool. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off as much as I can, because I don't, let me get some paper towel here. I don't want to clean my brush and get it wet. So I'm just going to squeeze out as much of this paint as I can. And then we're going to work with our greens. So let me get this fluffed back out. There we go. All right, and we're ready to put our greens in place. So we've got dark green. We're going to start with the dark green. So I'm going to go with sap on my brush, just like we loaded with the gray. And then I'm going to come over here and get a little bit of the citrus green too. Okay, so not too much of it. All right, so we're going to start up here, and we're going to kind of tap in amongst that rock area that I just put in there. All right, and remember we have our classic green as well. So I'm going to put a little bit of that out too. Okay, just in case we need it to bring these colors together, because I don't want to create a layer as much as I want to blend the greens. Okay, so don't forget your edges. I'm going to come right up in here and tap a little bit of that light green, and right up here. Okay, so that'll tie some of that together down here, and then we'll come through the grays here. I'm going to get stronger sap green. In the fall, this has beautiful fall colors too. Now I'm going to pick up just a little bit of the daffodil yellow right in here. Okay, so see how that's setting that back and this is coming forward? And we've got our rock peeking through. I'm going to get a little more citrus. Come through this rock here. More sap. on the back side, so on the outside I should say. I'm going to come all the way down on that edge so I don't have to keep doing that. All right, I'm going to pick up a little bit of this classic green right in here and come through this rock, get a little bit of yellow. There, see that? So that's really looking great. All right, then we're going to come through here, get some more of our darker green and citrus, a sap and citrus. And I'm letting some of the white even show through, okay, as part of our foliage coloring. So that's pushing that rock back behind the green. And then we're going to put in dark down here. So tip back to the edge of the brush that has the dark color. And then tip forward to the light to tap it on top, see? And then you can kind of fringe the edge of that rock down there. And there's a little bit of green kind of growing in that spot right there. Let's grab just a touch more yellow. All right, and that kind of finishes that right side wall. That's kind of cool. Now I see some spots where I might want to come in and put a little dark right in there. So they look like separate bushes and trees that are growing up in this spot. Okay. All right, so that finishes that right side, and then we can come over now on the left side. There's a lot more yellow, so a lot of lighter colors. And so first I have to put down my dark, right? So I'm going to start down here this time. And I'm going to pick up lots of sap green, and we're going to tap right into and around the edge of this rock here. And I'm just going to go ahead and get this edge of my canvas. All the way up. I'm going to let the yellow come forward too. And then blend that into the classic green up at the top. Okay, now let's come back with our lighter yellows and greens and get some of that back in here. Come into my dark. I'm going to come around this rock area and bring it up and over, and then tip forward on my light green. Get some yellow and some sap. And I'm just kind of rocking the brush forward and back to get the color I want. So dark down here, and then lots of light up in this area. Now I'm going to get a little bit of that classic green on my back of my brush, see right in there, as I come into this area to help tie together with the classic green that was up there with the Prussian blue that we did in lesson 2 of this, part 2 I should say. Okay, so that's easy to fill in when you've got a nice big mop brush like this. All right, and then we can kind of tap on the corner or on the edge and let some of this green fall over into this darker area here. Do a little bit on this side also. There we go. We're in business now. Look at that. I'm going to get just a little bit of white right in that spot right there. And a little up here. And right in here. Okay. That is looking really good. Okay. I'm done with that big mop brush now. And what I'm going to switch to at this point is I have a large rake brush. This is a 5/8 inch rake. Pardon me. And I'm going to be working with, I'm going to get that damp, and I'm not going to lay it on paper towel. I'm actually going to come right here and load it with white with that water so it makes it kind of runny, watery. and I'm going to get just a touch of this blue, not very much, okay? And we're going to come right through here, coming over. Oh no, you know what? We need to start at the bottom. I almost messed up. All right, so we need to come from here and sweep out, right? It goes out this way. So I need to take off a little bit of that water. I was thinking I was going to work up there, and I'm not. All right, so a little bit of that water, make that less watery. And we're going to push and sweep out. We're going to push and sweep, push and sweep. It goes straight this way, straight that way. And you actually are going to see a little bit of it backsplashing like that. So if you stay up on the chisel edge of this brush, it will make wisps. And if you push down and lift, it sweeps. Okay? And that's the look we want coming from the base. So push and lift, push and lift, push and sweep, sweep, sweep. Okay, now we're going to bring some blue back into this, and I'm going to start to sweep up and down. Okay, now I can come and touch into a little bit of that Prussian blue just on that loaded brush, and just add a little bit where it's going out into the water here, not up in this area, but out here. Just on the outside edge, little bits of blue. Okay, now I'm going to come and get that watery white with a little bit of blue, and we can start to put some of that blue showing in this fall. So there's a piece that comes right through here, and it makes a V, right? And then there's parts that just kind of trail over this spot here, and here, here. It just kind of stair steps down and then stair steps down again. Okay. All right. Now let's just get white. So watery white. And we're going to start down here, and you're going to let that gray show through, okay? So don't completely cover the entire gray area, but just on the chisel edge sweeping, no pressure, with white only, that's watery, straight up and down. So you're letting the streaks of gray and the streaks of blue where you put them show. And you're sweeping back and forth like a broom, so you're not getting hard brush lines, okay? And when you come down here, it's a long drop, and this water starts to separate and find ways to fall. And here it kind of hits and falls in. And the same thing on this side. It hits and falls in right from there. And then over here it comes down and separates and pools down there and falls again. Same thing here. So it gets very misty and thin. Now I can kind of give it a little pressure here because it's not breaking apart so much up there. A little bit of water mixing with this white. And then we have a little separation right here. There's something that sticks out that makes the water divide a little bit right in there. So you see a little dark, and then around it is more opaque white water. I keep getting bits of water from my clean water basin as I'm loading my brush with more color to help the paint move. We don't use medium with this brush very often. All right, so up here at the top, we're going to bring this over, and it's going to make this little spout right there stick, it flows out that way. And then I'm going to push really hard right up here at the top of the falls and give it a little bit of a curve. Not much, because you're not going to see that curve from our advantage. It's just push and pull down. But the water is rounded over the top of the falls as it's flowing over. So you don't want a real flat. Just a slight curve. Now I'm using stronger white, not much water up here at the top. And a little more pressure. Now if I lose my gray right in there, I can come back in here and put it back in. Just a little bit of gray right there. A little bit of gray right here. And then we have our pools of water falling over here. Now I'm going to get some more water in with my brush. And that's looking pretty good. All right, let's come down here, and we're going to make the center a little stronger with harder white, heavier white. There we go. All right, I'm liking this. I hope you are painting along with me in these lessons, and I hope you're enjoying yourself. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have so far. And I think we're almost done. So, last few things I want to do. Little streaks of water spilling over. We've got misty down here. We can put a little bit of white back up in there. And I'm going to go ahead and clean that brush. All right, now I'm going to, just to finish this out, I'm going to take my small mop again. I'm going to get medium on it and some white. And we're going to come right through here and mist this up just a little bit, so it's more of a soft lens spray. It's not completely covering the blue underneath that we have, and it's softening it out into the water. This way, back here. No curves though, it just goes straight out. Okay. There we go. Now, if you wanted to, you could leave it like this, or you can come back. Now there's a couple little tweaks that I want to do that I'm seeing. So I'm going to grab my 6 flat here real quick. And I'm going to get some wicker white, a little bit of medium gray. And the first thing I see is I want to come back in here and emphasize that. So I need actually to be darker, not lighter. So let's get a little bit of licorice on there and help that one. So we'll give it just a little bit of a darker edge on one side of each one of these. That'll give it a little dimension. There, that's better. That's lots better. Okay. And then I like to kind of come through, just add a little bit of aging. And emphasize the bottom of that rail going across. This rail going across. There we go. Bring that bridge to life a little more. All right, that's looking pretty good, guys. I feel like I want to come up with just a little bit of black. I'm going to grab on this rake brush, right? And I'm going to kind of bring up some dark into this rock down here. So it's not part of the water, it's just this rock is really wet down here and it gets very dark. So I'm just kind of tapping that in and bringing that up in some spots. You don't want it all the same height. And the same thing over here. Let me just get just a little bit of blue in there too. There we go. That'll kind of set that water back a little bit too. There we go. Just scrubbing that in. All right, that's looking really good, guys. So I think at this point, the only other thing I might consider doing is kind of framing this out with some twigs or leaves or branches that might come up. So if I grab some licorice here on my 12 and some white, right, and I can come right up here. There's a few little twigs. From our viewing point, wherever we might be. Some branches. Then grab my 16. Let's get some sap green and some citrus. And we're going to double load these colors. Maybe just a little bit of the daffodil and some medium. All right. And we can come right in here. And I'm just going to add a few little leaves. Okay. Let me get a little bit more yellow. There. And you don't even really have to attach them to a branch necessarily. It's just like a little corner softening. There you go. So I always like to sign my work, and I get my script liner and some inky color. So in this case, because it's all dark down here, I'm going to get some white, so some water, and get inky white, and maybe a little bit of yellow. And that'll kind of match with those leaves down there. And I'm going to go ahead and just put my initials right down here. And there we go. So let's take a look at our first painting from a photograph, Multnomah Falls. And there we have it. I hope you enjoyed that lesson. I hope you learned a lot. If you have any questions or anything, or you want to know where to get these supplies and tools that I use, just leave a message under this video and I will respond back to you. But there you go, guys. I hope you like that. Multnomah Falls. Thank you for watching, and be sure to come on next time where we'll start a new project.